So today's class we are going to be, good afternoon. Today's class we are going to be starting with the shoring. So before we are going to be starting with the shoring, just we'll go for the review of the last class, what we discussed very briefly. Then I will start with the shoring and what are the purpose of this shoring and what are the different types of the shoring we are going to be used in the construction purposes itself. So the last class we discussed about that the what is the scaffolding. This is going to be called as a temporary structure, or we are going to be called as temporary structure provided for the working platform for the people for the access from one level to the other level. And similarly, we are going to be using for the materials that we had used in the construction from one level to other level itself. So for this, the materials the used for the scaffolding is one is going to be timber or the wood. Second one is going to be called as steel scaffolding, or we are going to be called as tubular scaffolding. This already we discussed in the last class. Once again, just we will go for a glance to understand what we discussed yesterday's class, because this is a continuation with the scaffolding is going to be called as shoring. So then what are the different types of the scaffolding we are going to be using? The main purpose is the temporary platform for the labor or the people to go for one level to other level as a labor, or it is going to be engineer or anyone can able to access from one level to the other level itself, and for the material purpose. In that, the different types of this different type of the scaffolding. First is we discussed the single scaffolding, double scaffolding, cantilever scaffolding, suspended scaffolding, then the truss scaffolding, then the steel scaffolding. Last one is going to be called a patented scaffolding. So then first one is going to be called a timbers, a single scaffolding, or we are going to be called as brickman's scaffolding, because entirely we are going to be using for the brick masonry work. This is single scaffolding will be having that the horizontal member called a wood log, and the vertical member is going to be called as a standard. The standard, and as the horizontal member, the wood log we are going to be using. So to get the platform, to raise the platform, and the labor can able to work for the masonry work itself. That is we are going to call single scaffolding, means we are only providing the vertical support, and that is going to be rigidly fixed at the ground level, and the horizontal that is going to be erected through that the masonry work itself. So that is direction is going to be possible, fixing into that the permanent structure. That is called a single scaffolding. Then next one is going to be called as so the next is going to be called as a two-way scaffolding, or we are going to be called as stone masonry scaffolding. So this is we are going to be using that two standards we are going to provide like a ladder, and the horizontal members wood log we are going to be provided access from one level to the other level. So that is going to be called as two scaffolding, or the so the we are going to be called as the fixed scaffolding we are going to be using for the stone masonry work. Third is going to be called as cantilever scaffolding. So here there is no support, vertical support we are going to be provided on the ground floor. Earlier, previously, we saw that the single scaffolding or the double scaffolding, your entire vertical support, that is the standards, is going to be erected onto the and the ground level, and we are going to be fixed and to give the rigidity of the platform. But in the case of the cantilever scaffolding, the term itself is going to be giving as a meaning that so we can able to fix that the needles inside the masonry work, and then that is going to be used that the standards, and then we are going to provided that the inclined members we are going to be provided from that the masonry work, and that is going to be giving as a platform. Then like that we are going to be erected that the cantilever scaffolding, and the work is going to be, so the progress of the work is going to be maintained. So we are going to call it that we are going to call it cantilever scaffolding. This mainly we are going to be using cantilever scaffolding is using where there is no space is going to be available to go for that single or the double scaffolding. So then otherwise we are going to be giving that the very busy areas is very difficult to go for a single scaffolding or double scaffolding, that because we are going to be erected onto that the ground level. So this is we are going to be erected in the high level itself, and there is no need to go for the ground level, and the ground completely ground is going to be free to access. So the free flow of the traffic is going to be taking place. In busy areas, we are going to be, or we are going to be referring to that the cantilever scaffolding. Then another one is going to be called as suspended scaffolding. Suspended scaffolding completely we are going to be using for the so the repair works, or we are going for the plastering work, or we are going for the painting work, or we are going for the pointing work. So these are the situations we are going to be using the suspended scaffolding. In the suspended scaffolding, from the top level or the roof level, ropes or chains are dropped down and made a platform, and we can able to work. After the work is going to be completed, then we can able to remove that the ropes or the chains that is going to be supported from the roof itself. So that's why it is going to be called as suspended. It is going to be suspended from the roof level, and we are going to carry out the repair works. The main objective for the suspended scaffolding is for the repair works. Then the next one is going to be called as the truss scaffolding. Truss scaffolding is looking like is a moderate height is going to be available. Ready-made is going to be available for the 3 to 5 meters height. There is no need to go for single or double scaffolding or cantilever scaffolding, and we can able to make use of for the repairing purposes. Looking like a ladder, that is going to be called a truss scaffolding. Truss scaffolding is looking like a ladder, and we can able to use for the smaller heights. And the repair works is going to be carried out by using the truss scaffolding. Then steel scaffolding, or we are going to be called as tubular scaffolding. So this is majority of the cases. Almost all the construction works we are going to, nowadays we are going to be using is the tubular scaffolding. When compared to the timber or the wood, the tubular scaffolding is very easy to fix. And also already we discussed that multiple times we can able to use this tubular as a steel scaffolding. At any height we can go for that one. Only for initial cost is very high, and then later onwards, so your maintenance cost is low and total cost for your scaffolding is going to be less. So maintenance also is going to be very less when we are going to be comparing with the timber or the wood scaffolding. So this is the more advantages. That's why we are going to be using almost all the constructions is going to be called as steel or tubular scaffolding. Last one is going to be called as patented scaffolding. So the patented scaffolding is also similar to that your previously truss scaffolding, but it is having that more number of platforms we can have and more height. So the maximum height we can go for that one. That is we are going to call as patented scaffolding. This is also ready-made available in the market, and we can able to purchase it, and we can able to use for the repair purposes itself. This is going to be extended version of your truss scaffolding. Truss scaffolding only for the minimum height or with the lesser heights, and we can go for the patented scaffolding, we can go for the maximum heights. This we discussed yesterday's class. Then the today's class we are going to be coming for the shoring. What is meant by the shoring? So where we use this shoring, and what are the different types of the shoring is going to be available. Here the shoring materials we are going to be using almost all is the wood or the timber, and then other is going to be called a steel or the metal shoring platforms we are going to provide this. Shoring is going to be called as we are going to be called as for the unsafe structure, the support is going to be provided. Earlier case scaffolding we are going to provide as temporary platform access for the labor from one level to the other level to make sure that the construction is going to be completed. But in the case of the shoring, the structure is going to be unsafe, then we are going to provide the support to the structure, and we have to go for the repair works or the rebuild works. So that is we are going to be called as shoring. A very simple example that if we got an accident, so we cannot able to stable, then we can able to use that the stick, or the older people, the stability of the older people will be very less, then they are going to be depending on that the stick is going to be the stick or the wheel one we are going to be using. Like that, if the structure is going to be unsafe, and then we are going to provide the support, that is we are going to be called as shoring. One is that is the case will be there when the structure is going to be unsafe. So then it is going to be, so the settlement will be more, the settlement is going to occur because of the various operations besides of the your existing structure. That is the case we are able to get that the settlement is going to be coming for the existing structure, and it is going for the collapse of the structure is going to be taking place. Before that, it is going to be giving that giving that the indication that the structure is going to be failed. So then we had to be rectified by using that the shoring, put that the supports, and we had to be do for repair works. That is one case. Another case is that one, while you are going for the deep excavations in the foundation, the soil is going to be sliding down. To support that the soil and to make sure that foundation is going to be completed, also we are going to be provided the support is going to be called as the shoring. The shoring is that we are going to be supporting the structure or supporting the soil. You may say that we are going to be using for the retaining walls. Retaining walls is going to be different, and the shoring is going to be different. In retaining walls, we are going to be make sure that the soil is going to be standard, and we are going to provide the reinforcement in such a way that soil will be not falling down. That is we are going to call retaining walls. Retaining walls is going to maintain to retain the structure or retain the soil to be not going to be falling down. But here the shoring, we are going to be seeing that we have to be complete the foundation work, or we are going to be complete the repair works. Up to that, the support is going to be provided very rigid. No case the failure is going to be occur. We are going to be so the safeguarding that the structure, and we have go for the maintenance work or the repair work, that we are going to be called as shoring. whether you are going for the foundation work or for the any failure is going to be taken place. Because so in the existing structure, besides that, we can go for the deep excavations by using that by using that the vibrate by using that the machinery, and then the vibrations is going to be taken place. Vibrations is going to be attacking that the existing structure. Then every chance will be there, settlement of the foundation and the settlement of the settlement of the walls is going to be occur. That we had to identify it, and we had to provide the support. That is also one of the cases will be there. We can able to see that for new construction is going on, but already so the for the new construction, both the sites already the structures is built, already built, existing structures will be there. Because of their deep excavations, so then that will be leading to sometimes, if you are not done properly the design for the existing structure, so then every chance will be there, settlement is going to occur. That is one case. Settlement will be occur because of the high floods also. High floods, your construction is taken place in waterlogged areas, there also the settlement is going to occur. In each and every case, it is going to be giving indication. The structure is going to be giving indication that the cracks is going to be developed. Cracks is going to be developed for the existing structure, such that so the engineer has to be go for repair works. That is, the cracks is going to be one of the indications. Then we have to go for providing the support in the form of the shoring. This is about, I hope you understand that what is meant by the shoring. One is deep excavation for the foundation, another one is going to be called deep excavation because of the deep excavations, then the vibrations is going to be giving you for the existing structure. One is deep excavation for the same structure, then the soil is going to be falling down, then we have to be avoid that the falling of the soil, so then we are going to provide the shoring. And the second case is that one, if we are going for the deep excavation for the foundation for the so next to the existing structure, the existing structure is getting that the because of the vibrations, the getting the existing structure may go for the cracking is going to be developed. For that, so we have to go for the repair, then we are going to provide the temporary support in the form of the shoring. So, and then another case is that waterlogged areas. In the waterlogged areas, if you are not done, taken the precautionary measures, and we are going to build a building, build a construction, every chances will be there for the heavy floods or the heavy rainfall. And due to that one, the settlement is going to occur. And then in that cases also, we had to be support that the structure by using the shoring. These are the various situations or circumstances we are going for the shoring. So then you can able to see that how we are going to be defining that the shoring. Shoring is the construction of a temporary structure to support temporarily an unsafe structure. And this support was laterally. I forgotten that lateral support. So this is the wall will be there. We are going to provide the lateral support. The soil will be not going to be falling down. I will show that the pictures. You can able to understand that one. Lateral supports laterally means horizontal direction. Vertical direction is axial. Then the lateral loads means it is going to be called as horizontal loads. So the falling of the soil or the falling of the structure to maintain. So that's why the laterally the support is going to be provided. Where the failure is going to occur, in that direction we make the support and we make sure that so the safety you are going to be giving to the structure, and repair works is going to be carried out. Shoring can be used when walls bulge out, when walls crack due to unequal settlement of foundation, and repairs are to be carried out to cracked wall, when adjacent structure needs to be pulling down because the settlement or the settlement is going to occur, when openings are to be newly made for the enlarged in a wall. And some more definitions also is going to be given the shoring, or which situations or circumstances we have to go for the shoring. Shoring is used to support a structure to prevent a collapse. Your collapse is going to be arrested, your collapse is going to be saved, that by using that is going to be called shoring. Very simple definition this is. Shoring is used to support a structure to prevent a collapse. The most common shoring techniques that we encountered are during the early stage of the construction, which is an excavation. Early stage of construction means it is going to be a foundation. While you are going for the foundation, for deep excavation is going to be done. That is the situation where we have to be support the soil. Then we are going to provide the shoring technique we are going to be used. Shoring is intended to support deep excavation to prevent the retained soil overturns, eventually cause a project mishap. Means project failure has to be saved by using the shoring. If you are not done shoring properly, it isn't the shoring properly, then every chance will be there, the settlement, or it is going to be called as failure of the structure is going to be comes. So depending on the soil type, This is almost is going to be depending upon the soil type only. Shoring support is usually provided when we need to support an excavation with at least 1.2 meter difference in levels from our ground level, not the gate level, ground level or the 0.0 level. In construction, shoring is completely different from a retaining wall. Already I told you that retaining wall is different and shoring is different, as this is used only to retain the soil during the excavation. As far as the structural design is concerned, it is not used primarily for the purpose of retaining wall. This is only to support the soil is not going to be falling down, and once the construction is going to be completed, we are going to be removing that the temporary support. So this is about how we are going to be defining that the shoring, or what are the situations we have to be used at the shoring. So then we can go for the what are the different types of the shoring. There are the three types of the shoring depending upon the situation or the circumstance we are going to be using. One is racking shoring, second one is flying shoring, third one is going to be called as dead shoring. Racking shoring is used only for simple purposes, means we are going to be supporting the structure or the wall, external walls is going to be bulged out or the cracking is going to be developed in the walls. Then for these simple situations we can use that the racking shore. Flying shoring is that, so that in a row of a building, one middle building or middle structure is going to be pulling down, remaining adjacent structures is going to be safe, but the middle one is going to be failure is going to occur, failure is going to occur. Then that how we are going to supporting that the two structures, that is going to be called as flying shoring. So in a row, 1, 2, 3 buildings are there. These two buildings we are going to be supporting. These two buildings will be supporting. The middle one is going to be pulling down because the settlement is going to occur only for the middle building. In that case, the flying shoring will be used. Dead shoring we are going to be using that. Completely dead shoring is on the other direction. We can say that the underpinning operation. We are going for excavating below that the wall, and we are going to be giving the support to that the roof and as well as the slab and as well as the beams. We are going to be giving the support, and we are going to be excavating, and we had be strengthening that the existing foundations. That is we are going to call it dead shoring. Dead shoring is going to be provided that, so the foundation we are going to be rebuilt below that the wall. In that case, how we are going to be supporting the existing structure above the ground level, that we are going to be called as dead storing, dead shoring. Because completely is dead, your foundation is going to be dead, then I can able to go for giving that the so the strengthening operation that comes under that the dead shoring. So then first we'll see that what is the flyer racking shoring. So the racking shoring, in this method, inclined members, rackers means in inclined shores. In this method, inclined members known as rackers are used to give lateral support to walls. So this is my wall. Here the failure is going to be taken place. Then I am going to provide the support in this direction. So this is the inclined direction. I'm going to be providing the support such that your wall will be safe till your maintenance operation is going to be done. This is the vertical, and you are going to provide the inclined support itself. So that is what are going to be called rackers. A racking shore consists of the following components. Rackers are inclined member, wall plate is the vertical member, needles we are going to be inserting into the wall, clears is the supports, bracing, and so plate. I will show in the diagram what are these component parts will be there. Rackers are inclined members, wall plate, needles, clears, bracing means horizontal members. We are going to be provided. Sole plate is the bottommost to give the support and to fix, and rigidity is going to be provided by the sole plate itself. So then racking shore, how we are going to be designed or how we are going to provide. These are the following points. The following points are to be kept in view for the use of the racking shore. What is that? You are racking rackers in the inclination of 45 degrees. Minimum angle is 45 degrees. Maximum we can go for 75 degrees. That is the first point. Is going to be explaining that rackers are to be inclined in the ground at 45 degrees. However, the angle may be between 45 degrees and 75 degrees. For the tall buildings, the length of the racker can be reduced by introducing rider racker. For the tall building, we can go for that. So 2 to 3 rackers at a stretch we can join together. That is going to be called rider racker. Instead of single racker, I am going to be joining to the 2 to 3 rackers, inclined members together. That we are going to call rider racker. Rackers should be properly braced at intervals. Means suppose your height will be more, then one support we are going to provide. Below that, another support, inclined support we are going to provide. This is we are going to call rackers should be properly braced at intervals, and it is going to be joined together the horizontal members. Bracing and as well as two different levels, that is depending upon the height of the structure is going to be there. Based on that one, we had to be provided the braces as well as more number of braces, rackers is going to be designed. The size of the rackers is to be decided on the basis of the anticipated thrust from the wall. What is the horizontal, lateral, so load is going to be coming onto that one, how we have to be rectified and how we have to be arrested it, and we have to make sure that your structure is going to be safe. So that is the anticipated thrust and load we are going to be calculated. Based on that one, your maintenance or repair work has to be done. The center line of a racker, and the wall should be meet at a floor level. Shoring may be spaced at 3 to 4.5 meter spacing to cover longer length of the bar. The sole plate should be properly embedded into the ground on an inclination and should be proper section and size. Wedges should not be used on the sole plates. Wedges means we are going to provide the support based on that below that one we are going to supporting one. If more number of wedges we are going to provide, then skidding is going to occur. That's why we are going to be fixing with the spikes, with the bolt and nuts. Wedges we are not going to be using. Wedges should not be used on sole plates since they are likely to give way under vibration that are likely to occur. Skidding is going to occur and your support is not going to be rigidly fixed. That's why we are going to provide the spike. Spike means we are going to provide the bolt and nut, or otherwise nails we are going to be inserted that we are going to call as spikes. So this is about that. What is the racking shore? Racking shore we are going to be using for the simple structural failure like walls. Walls is going to be bulged out. The cracks is going to be developed in the walls, external walls, and then in that circumstances we will go for the racking shore, and we had to be go for the maintenance or repair work and rebuild work we are going to be done. So now we can able to see that the diagram is going to be explaining that this is the racking shore, a double racking timber shore we are going to provide. So you can able to see that this is the vertical member we are going to be called as wall plate. Then cleat we are going to be, because it is not going to sliding down, your racker is not going to sliding down, so the topmost we are going to provide is going to be called as cleat, is going to be giving like giving the rigidity to that the inclined member. Then the needle we are going to be provided for fixing. Brace, already I told you that this is the one brace and this is another one brace. This is a brace is going to be horizontal member. How we are going to be using bracelet we are going to be using similarly here also. So the braces we are going to be provided, this is one racker and this is bottom racker. This is the top racker and this is the bottom racker. This top racker and bottom racker is going to be fastened by your braces. This is one brace, top brace, and this is the bottom brace will be there. So there's the needle, brace, top racker, and the bottom brace, and this is the bottom brace, and this is the bottom racker. And already I told that sole piece we are going to provide. Dogs, arm is dog spike, means that is the nails we are going to be inserted such that it is not going to be coming out. The rigidity we are going to provide on the ground level itself. Then wall spike typical, because this we are going to provide the wall plate, for that it is not going to be coming down, we are going to be fixing that the wall spike also we are going to be provided. So then this is the entire arrangement to go for the racking shore. When we are going to be using the racking shore we are going to be using for that the wall, the cracks is going to be developed in the wall. So then this is the another diagram is going to be explaining you about that the how the racking shore we are going to be used. This is the another diagram. I already told the brick wall plate. This is the vertical member is the wall plate. This is the brick wall. This is the cleat. Above that the needle, and this is the rackers we can able to provide it to give the support. So these are also one of the, so the racking shore, how we are going to be provided or how we are going to be designed for the structure. Then the flying shoring. The second one is going to be called as flying shoring. Flying shoring is a system of providing temporary support to the party walls of the two buildings where the intermediate building is to be pulled down and rebuilt. Already I told you that in a row of construction, two buildings, in intermediate building is going to be pulling down. Is going to be slightly is going to be collapses or is going to be collapse. Is going to be settlement is going to be occur. But the other existing buildings besides of the building, other two is going to be very strong. There is no settlement is going to occur, then the intermediate building will be having a problem. Then how we had to be rectified and how we had to make sure that the work is going to be done. So that is going to be called as flying shore. So intermediate building is to be pulled down and rebuilt. All types of arrangement of supporting the unsafe structure in which shores do not reach the ground come under this category. The flying shore consists of wall plates. Here also same thing, arrangement will be there, wall plates will be there, needles, cleats, horizontal struts, commonly known as horizontal shore. This is an additional member we are going to be used where we are not used in the racking shore. and inclined struts are arranged in different forms and varies with the situation. So now we can see that so in this system also the wall plates are placed against the wall and secured it. A horizontal strut is placed between the wall and plates, and the inclined struts are supported by the needle at the top and by straining pieces at their feet. The straining pieces is also a straining sill and is spiked to the horizontal shore. Just you go to the diagram, then you can able to understand that what is the flying shore. This is the flying shore will be there. This is one building, and this is another building. These are two buildings. We can able to see that. So the walls of the two buildings. This is one building. This is another building. Is the intermediate building will be having going for the shoring operations. For that, how the arrangement is going to be done? Wedges is going to be provided. This is the straining piece. This is the horizontal shore. This horizontal member is going to be called horizontal shore. Racking strut, wall plate, horizontal shore. Wedges is going to be provided. Then the structure is going to be safe, the intermediate structure, and whatever the repairing work has to be done, we can able to carry it out. So this is we are going to be called as the flying shore. Flying shore is going to be implemented. One of the intermediate building is going to be having the settlement and rectified the settlement and rebuild the structure. Then in that circumstances, we have to go for the flying shore. Then another one, these are also the another diagram is going to be showing that how the flying shore is going to be erected and to save the intermediate building. This is also there. Then the last one is going to be called as the dead shoring. Dead shoring is the system of shoring which is used to render vertical support to walls and roofs, floors. Earlier we saw that only wall. Second one is settlement of the entire building. Then we are given that the flying shore. Then the third one, now the dead shoring is that we are going to be roof and floors also we are going to support it. And then when the lower part of a wall has been removed, this is the lower part of the wall is going to be removed and removed for the purpose of providing the opening in the wall or to rebuild a defective load bearing wall in a structure. How we had to be carried out dead shoring. So dead shoring, the dead shore consists of an arrangement of beams and posts which are required to support the weight of the structure above and transfer same to the ground on a firm foundation below. The dead shore consists of an arrangement of beams and posts which are required to support the weight of the structure above and transfer the same to the ground on firm foundation. When opening in the wall are to be made, holes are cut in the wall below that at a such height as to follow sufficient space for insertion of the beam or the girder that will be provided permanently to carry out the weight of the structure above. So this the wall will be there. Below that we are going to be removing and we have to be made for that the rebuild of the foundation that is going to be taking place. That comes under the dead shoring. So distance at which the holes are cut depends upon the type of masonry and it varies 1.2 meters to 1.8 meters center. The beams called needles are placed in the holes and are supported by vertical props called dead shores at their ends on either side of the wall. The needles may be of timber or the steel and are sufficient section. Now you can go through the diagram, you can able to understand instead of this one. This is dead shoring or dead shore. This is your main wall. The wall will be there. So from below this is going to be a dotted line is going to be showing that we are going for removing and we are going for the new foundation or the new thing is going to be inserted or new thing is going to be constructed. And this vertical support, these two are we are going to be called a dead shore. You can able to see that dead shores. Dead shore. This is vertical. This vertical member is going to be called dead shore. This dotted line is going to be giving us that. So we are going to be called as a defected wall or defected the foundation. Then we have to be so inserting by using the new one. The dotted line is going to be giving you. Then if you are going to be dug below the wall, or automatically the superstructure will be having that the disturbances will be there. So that's why we are going to be provided the flying shore and the horizontal shores and staining sill. Each and everything we are going to provide it in such a way that it is not going to be disturbed while you are going for the excavating. While you are going for the excavation and you have to be repairing work below that the wall is going to be taken place. That's why we are going to call it dead shore. Completely saturated, then we have to be removed. It is not able to carry out the load and is going to be defected one and we are going to be removing it and we are going to be replacing it. So that we are going to be called as a dead shore. So this is also we can able to see that the elevations how is going to be done. So the shoring, folding plates, these are all the dead shore. Dead shore we are going to be provided. Dead shores we are going to be provided. Here you also can able to say this is the dead shore, this is the dead shore, and the dotted line is going to be giving us that. So the new construction is going to be done, or the the new wall is going to be constructed below the existing wall itself. Because it is going to be defected one, we are going to remove this portion, and we have to make sure that the new thing is going to be giving you that to strengthen the wall and strengthen the complete structure itself. So this is about the dead shore. So these are some of the diagrams we can able to see that this is the dead shore, this is the dead shore, this is the dead shore, this is the new thing we are going to be constructed. This already we discussed about the racking shore. This is the racking rackers, and this horizontal member we are going to be called as braces. And this is going to be called flying shore. This is the this vertical is going to be called as one side of the building. This vertical is going to be giving you the one side of the building. And this the horizontal shore we are going to be provided. Strainer piece we are going to be provided, and rackers were going to be provided. These are this diagram is going to be giving the dead shore, racking shore, and flying shore. All the three shores is going to be giving the pictures how is going to be vary from one to other. So this is the simple racking shore we are going to be using for simple thing, and flying shore is going to be called somewhat moderate construction. Then moderate repair works is going to be done. Dead shore is going to be called as extensive work has to be done to repair to go for the new thing. Here all for existing things we are going to be done. For here existing thing is going to be removed, and we add way go for the new one. So this is about the how the racking shore we are going to be provided, how we are going to be flying shore is going to be provided, how the dead shore is going to be provided, such that so the structure is going to be safe. Unsafe structure made into the safe structure. And some of the pictures you can go through that one. This is we can see that here we can able to see that the foundation. So you are going for the deeper excavation, then you can able to see that in the sides we are going to be provided that soil will be not going to be sliding down. So then the foundation work is going to be carried out. This is one type of the shoring we are going to be provided for the foundations. This is another. This is also you can able to see that most of the cases will go for the high rise building. What we are going to be doing is bearing capacity of the soil will be very less. Then automatically what we are going for the deep excavations, or we are going for the deep foundation. In deep foundation every chance will be there, the sliding mass or the sliding soil is going to be sliding of the soil is going to be occur. Then we as the sliding of the soil we are going for the supporting is going to be called as the shores. Shore we are going to be, so the flying shore or the racking shores we are going to be provided such that so we are going to be arresting that the soil sliding. So this is about the today's class about the shoring. We are somewhat typical one when you are using the scaffolding. So you can able to understand. It just you go through the diagrams. Anyhow, I will send that the complete PPT. You go through that one, and then you can understand very easily. Once you go through that, the physically and as well as the diagrammatically, only you can understand that where we are using the racking shore, where we are using the flying shore, and where we are using the dead shore. Next class, tomorrow's class, we will discuss with the underpinning operations, where we will go for the underpinning. But that's why I don't want to club all, because each and every topic will be important and you can able to understand easily. If you are done completely all together scaffolding and as well as your shoring and underpinning at one class, if I am going to be explaining that, it's somewhat difficult to understand. Because of that reason I separated that. First we discuss the scaffolding, then we discuss the shoring, and the last one is going to be called underpinning. So this entire is coming under unit 4. I hope you understand, you know that the syllabus in the unit 4 last topic is that formwork, then scaffolding, then shoring, and then underpinning. So this is about the unit 4 we are doing now. Unit 5 already completed. Unit 4 we not covered, this one we covered, and remaining almost all we covered in the classes, regular class itself. Any questions? Any questions?
Holidays? Sir, when will holidays extend, sir? Sir,
If no questions, we will wind up the session and tomorrow we'll join. So thank you for attending the class.